welcome in to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard Data Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
I have like a hiccup that attacked me right at the beginning of the show. Follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. You can support us. $247, $10 gets your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. I just uploaded yesterday night my review of Jason Schreier's Play Nice, the the rise, fall, and future of Blizzard Entertainment. There, I forgot the subtitle for a second. It is very good. There's a ton of history in it. In the review, I said it's both sort of a piece of history as a piece of journalism, because there's a ton in it about canceled games, about how Blizzard formed, about Blizzard's connection to other studios. And then, yeah, there's lots of work done about Blizzard's culture, about the fallout from that culture after the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing in 2021, after they sued them, and canceled games like Titan, how that impacted thing. And then the slow takeover, the slow assimilation of Blizzard into Activision's sort of corporate structure, which and I say this in the video as well, which we have known about for a while. But I think what's difficult to understand about those things is how they actually happen, the mechanisms behind them, right? It's like, okay, a hostile takeover is happening, but how does that actually happen? Who are the people that are moving the pieces? Where are those pieces being moved, right? What are the moves being made here? And Schreier sort of details how it happens over the years, the different events that lead to certain management shakeups. So it's really interesting. If you're interested in Blizzard, definitely give it a read. If you're just interested in video games, definitely give it a read, just because there's a whole lot in there that I think probably applies to a lot of other studios, not just Blizzard. So, yeah.
If you like reading, give it a read.
If you like reading, there's lots of words, lots of pages, grammar. So if you're a big fan of just reading,
why use few words when many word work?
When many word do trick. What was I gonna say? I don't remember now, but
Read it.
Go read it and watch my review of it first. Do that, YouTube channel, and then buy it and read it. That's what you should do.
Buy the book through the link in the description so you get kicked back.
Can't do that. Sorry, old Shy Guy's not giving me a.
Shucks.
It's not payola. But yeah. All right. What games have we been playing? Connor, go.
Well, I picked up last night and played a little bit of Rogue Trader, Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, the CRPG that came out a while ago. Haven't gotten too much into it. I was going through the character creator, which is dense, because it is more of a traditional CRPG. So going through it the first time and just like reading every little piece of information I could to try and figure out what the game is, like exactly like how it works. It looks like it's based off like D100 system, so
okay.
Nothing really to report, like to talk about on that. I haven't put much into it. So yeah, that's it. Only game I could talk about that I've been playing.
How do you feel an RPG fits in the Warhammer universe? Because from my perspective, the Warhammer universe, everyone sort of has because in the tabletop game, it's like everyone has a specific role. You're a space marine. You're an Astra Militarum soldier, and you get killed by a space marine. So it's just like it's kind of rigid. It's tough to imagine like a society built around that, because so much of it is military and I'm sure the novels probably handle that. So how do you think that's fitting? I know you haven't played it a whole lot, but
like to touch on the point of like very militarized. While it is very militarized, from the experience you get from playing like Space Marine 2 tabletop, you're experiencing the world through the militarized lens of Warhammer 40K. There is like depth when it comes to non-military stuff in 40K. Like the whole Rogue Trader system is explorers going out into the still unexplored parts of the galaxy, finding worlds, and because they are sanctioned by the government, they now own that planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
And then dealing with the native populations of that planet, however they
That's a euphemism.
Yep. However they need to, and dealing with other rogue traders as
Okay, so it's almost like you're a colonial power.
Yeah.
And you're Christopher Columbus, basically.
Yes.
You are Rogue Trader is Christopher Columbus.
I am future
with a
fascist
laser gun.
Christopher Columbus. Yes.
Okay, interesting. That's actually an interesting concept. I've heard. I have a buddy that has played Rogue Trader and talked about it. So I may actually give that a shot because I love CRPGs. I'm super in the mood for Warhammer stuff now because of Space Marine 2. So
Been building and painted minis.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that's cool. All right, Richard.
I have played. Last time I'll talk about it, but I beat Astrobot.
Yeah.
Beat Astrobot, platinumed it. And I, when it is done incredibly well and incredibly right, I love nostalgia, I suppose. And I think that the ending sequence of Astrobot had to be one of my favorite things I've ever played in my life. From a bit of a historical standpoint, but also emotionally. And I have not had a game, because of my own interests, I've not had a game where I have not necessarily screamed, but just like proclaimed, like, are you kidding me? Or like, what the hell, from all of the like ass pull references that they have. And the biggest of which, strangely, was the final level turns into a space shooter, which is really, really, really cool. One of my favorite genres. But the track that plays is a song from Thunder Force 5, which is a side-scroller shooter, which wasn't even a PlayStation game. It was a Sega Saturn.
Oh,
exclusive.
Okay.
It was a Sega Saturn exclusive for a year. Then it came out on PlayStation. But Thunder Force, like when you talk to people who played it or know it, that's not, you don't think PlayStation with Thunder Force 5, you think Sega Saturn. So for them, someone was a fan on that team, and they're like, we have to have, like, their mission was to like have that song at this final battle.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I feel, but it worked. It worked for me, and it worked. The credits really, really worked for me, and towards the end, I was like, "You better not do it! Like, you better not do it!" And they do the thank you to everybody, and you. And fuckers. Yeah, they did it. Then I completed the final mission, the like super secret mission to get the last bot, which when I saw who it was, I was kind of like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But I'm not going to spoil it here. Sorry. But yeah, enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a wonderful game, and one of my favorites of the year. And I'd probably say in my top 50. But I've never made that list yet. I've never made that list. Yeah, sure, definitely.
I was gonna say, I think it's funny when you say, you love nostalgia, because I don't think there's many people in the world like, nostalgia. Puh.
Yeah, there's for sure. Oh yes, yeah. I guess I'm coming from a standpoint of member berries.
Yeah.
Like
yes, because there is a lot of that content. As humanity slowly winds down here and we disappear in the next 50 years and die and go extinct. There is like a let's look back at this TV show before we shut off the lights.
Yes,
and we're doing a big clip show right now in our culture. So
so Sony's off here deciding that Horizon gets a remaster, 5 years later. But yeah, no, for series that nobody's thinking about, for games that weren't even released in America that nobody's thinking about, like this is a really cool way to do it. So it was a really, really awesome experience. But moving on, I did play a tiny bit of Tiny Glade.
Oh, okay.
I bought that. Yeah, I bought Tiny Glade, and I kind of had this like immediate like, oh, did I make the right choice? Because playing it on the Steam Deck isn't the greatest, but it's doable. You need a little more precision to perform some of the acts, create your Tiny Glade, and the trackpads, as good as they are and as sensitive they are, you can't quite get what you need to do there. So I messed around with it for about 10 minutes, and I bought it more for my wife than myself because I can fully admit when I don't have a creative brain. Legos only interest me for so long. Minecraft only interests me for so long, and I'm like, oh, I'll move on. But to see what just messing around with it to see what can be accomplished is extremely impressive, and there's a very good reason why it has an overwhelming positive on Steam. But I think I probably will download it and try it on my computer just a little bit. Something to wind down with. That's a perfect way to put it. But played that too. But that's about it. I'm just going to be looking for my next thing to move on to after this, which I have a lot on the plate.
Yep, Silent Hill 2 comes out tomorrow.
What?
And I was tempted. Because it got really good reviews, which is
it's getting incredible reviews,
which is encouraging. And I was tempted to pick up the digital deluxe today and be like, screw it,
gotta have that extra costume.
But I was like, nah, I want the physical edition. I'll pick it up at a game store tomorrow. Or
I know a
something
guy
like that. If I buy it from somewhere, and then sell it to you guys, and then buy it for the same exact price again, that would make buying it twice. So never mind, I'm not going to.
That would.
But you would be just losing.
I just want
money.
to support. I just want to support local game stores. But somebody doesn't want to sell new games. So
sorry.
I know it's okay.
We make like $3 off every new game. Like
I'm like that. It's like that episode of SpongeBob where that guy walks up to Squidward and he's like, "Do you have any extra ketchup?" And Squidward, no. Oh, can you check?
No.
It's like, Richard, do you have any new games? No. Are you sure? No. All right. Oh, sorry. I always want to check that. No. So I think I'm close to finishing Assassin's Creed Mirage.
That's getting a re-release too.
They're
HD remake.
On Steam.
On Steam, yeah. As Ubisoft decides, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done that dumbass Exodus. So I've enjoyed Assassin's Creed. I forgot to mention that it's basically a remake of the first Assassin's Creed. It's like a stealth remake, basically.
It's more leaning towards that, yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. If you sort of mainline it, I think that maybe that's the best way to experience it, just because there's not a whole lot to do outside. Like there's other swords and outfits you can find, but none of them are that powerful or interesting. I've stuck the stuff that I wear is the starting gear still, and I'm like, I don't know, 20 hours in. So I have found other swords and whatnot, but they're just not. They have like different abilities and stuff, but they're just not super useful. So I'm just sticking with the basic stuff. And then you can find upgrades for those things, but because the other swords and outfits, because their passive abilities aren't that useful, I don't care about getting the upgrades either. So it's just, there's not a whole lot of like extra stuff that I am that interested in. But that's fine, because mainlining it, it's got solid stealth. When you go to a mission and you've got this big building with a wall around it and guards everywhere, it's just like it's old. It's not necessarily a new type of stealth, but it works fine for the most part. The parkour does kind of feel Basim is relatively slow. I don't know if all Assassin's Creeds are like that now. But I remember in the older Assassin's Creeds, if you were like to shimmy across a wall, you would go pretty fast. Like almost to the point the speed your character was at was jogging speed. That's how quickly you could like shimmy across a wall. Basim shimmies like pretty slowly. His movements are a lot more deliberate and sort of bulky, I guess is a word for them. So I don't know if like Assassin's Creed Origins was like that, or
I don't remember. I remember Valhalla being painful to play because of things like that.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Also, just being a bad game in general.
and the thing about open worlds is Assassin's Creed works best in a urban environment with buildings and walls. When you take it into an open world, it just doesn't. It just becomes sort of because the combat in Assassin's Creed was never the point, right? It wasn't the thing that was going to drive the game. It was all the verticality and the stealth and how to move and climb and the parkour. So it's like at Valhalla, I remember being really big. So I don't know how many cities and stuff it had, but I was
Not a lot.
Yeah, so that seems to me like
It's a lot of open space.
yeah, which is like goes against the whole point of Assassin's Creed. But in Assassin's Creed Mirage, there is a desert surrounding it that you venture out into here and there, but for the most part you are in Baghdad, and Baghdad is dense, it's packed. Buildings everywhere, alleyways, stuff on the streets. And it makes it a lot of fun to run around and navigate. So other than Assassin's Creed, I also picked up Black Myth Wukong Black Myth. I forget which way it goes. And I played that. I've played that for a couple hours, but I haven't played it in a couple weeks because I got it before I went on a vacation. We'll say that a couple, last week or whatever. But that one, I'm not quite sure. I'm a few hours in. The first boss I faced got me once, and then I got them. The next few bosses I ran through, it was easy. Then I ran into a boss that took me like 12 times to finish. Mm-hmm. After that, I wiped the floor with a couple bosses, and then so it was like the difficulty with the bosses is kind of all over the place. It's like some of them is just the hardest boss I've ever fought. Some of them are like, really easy. I'm bleeding, which makes me the victor. like kind of just a joke.
Okay, Wimplo.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten far enough to gauge, like, I don't know, how difficult it is. It doesn't feel as difficult as Dark Souls or even Elden Ring, but I'll see. It is Chinese myth and lore, so it reminds me a lot of like God of War, because you have all these characters that I assume are pulled straight from myth and legend, and you're kind of in this world that I don't think works on like a realistic logic. It works on sort of a myth logic, like your Hades or whatever. So I'll have more to talk about. Like I said, I haven't played it in a few weeks, but I was getting real into the combat, and Assassin's Creed Mirage Square was dodge, I think.
Oh.
And Black Myth Circle was dodge. And I was like, can't do that. Thank God Assassin's Creed Mirage, you can change the button, the control bindings. So I switched circle to dodge. I was like, ooh, thank God, because that is not fun at all to figure that shit out. Okay, I think that's all I want to talk about for now. Yeah. Yes.
We did a mission, and we did a couple missions in Space Marine 2. How are you enjoying the story so far? I'm a bit ahead of you.
So I think the story is interesting. I think it's kind of redundant because, like, for 4 missions, the story is basically, Lieutenant, you're not telling us the truth. And he's like, you will follow my orders. And that's basically the dialogue for like 4 missions, know? And then they learn like one other thing. Lieutenant, you were part of the Black Templars. And the lieutenant's like,
nope.
Tell you what, shut your mouth or I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Death Watch, not the Black Templars.
Yeah, the Death Watch. And then like 2 missions later, it's like, Lieutenant, you did tell us that you liked, ketchup on your steak, and the lieutenant's like, how about you mind your own fucking business? Heresy. So it's like that's kind of so the idea is, the narrative is that the lieutenant has a past that he doesn't want dug up. His squad mates kind of go back and forth on whether or not they trust him or whatever. So there's friction, but there's no like, there was really no. I don't know, emotional or narrative fulfillment to any of that. And then it gets to a sort of a twist where it seems like all that stuff just gets shoved to the side. I don't know. The combat is fun. It's repetitive, but it's fun. And the thing that keeps me going is just how the game looks, all the different architecture. There was that awesome moment where you follow a tank and the tank bursts through a door and you run through the door, and you see, and when you fight alongside the Astra Militarum soldiers, and you really get the scale of how absolutely fucked they are, because there's just no way they're gonna live through this giant invasion. The scale of everything, it does a good job making you feel like a space marine. So it has the trappings of like an HBO, like a a prestige drama, but it's got none of the substance. But all the trappings are there, right? Like I could like snip a clip out, and you're like, oh man, that's intense dialogue. But what you don't know is that dialogue basically happens every mission in different forms. So that's kind of my take on the. But I'm hoping it gets a little more interesting, because there have been moments where, one of the squad mates does something and they have to be yelled at for a second, and it's like maybe that'll rear its head later on. I don't know. But yeah. So
I haven't beat the game yet.
Okay.
But with my knowledge of the Warhammer universe, your whole thing about the Astra Militarum, just the regular guard being fucked, is a lot more real than you think. Because that planet's probably going to get exterminatus.
Yeah, because once I keep wanting to call them Zerg.
Once the Tyranids show up, the best method is just to break the planet.
Yeah, because they've got their little eggs or whatever, so it's difficult.
Spores,
so it's difficult to completely eradicate. It's the same thing with orcs, correct?
Well, yes and no. Orcs is spores. The Tyranids, they don't really have spores. It's all from the Hive fleet. But if any of them don't get killed, they can start infecting and creating. If the gene stealers are there, they can start creating gene stealer cults.
Yep, same thing. And the gene stealers can also steal equipment.
Yeah.
So it's like, unlike the Tyranids, which all their equipment is just bigger Tyranids, the gene stealers can help the Tyranids, and they can take over, tanks and aircraft and stuff like that, because they're just humans that got turned. But I think if they, into the third one, I think they should just go the full Gears of War route and implement, this is not easy to do, and implement some kind of third person shooting mechanic, because the melee combat works, but I feel like it would work if it also had a third person like a cover based element to it. Yeah, that's just, I don't know, because like it's
but
all
Tyler taking cover isn't in the Codex Astartes, all right?
Okay, you do it in the tabletop game at the beginning,
but it's not in the Codex Astartes to take cover.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're a walking cover, I guess. You're a Space Marine.
You really are a tank.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Space Marine?
I was just curious about your.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to finish that because there's a bunch of other stuff coming out. Anyway, all right. Hit the audience. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. 343 has rebranded to Halo Studios. Who owns Halo again? I forget. Who owns Halo again? I don't know. Who owns Xbox? Thank you, Connor. New Halo games are also in development. In a video, the studio announced the move to Unreal 5 with multiple Halo games in the works. We don't really know much more than that. The video showed off Project Foundry, which is a tech demo that Halo Studios are using to, I guess, practice and sort of implement new things that they will eventually build into actual Halo games. So yeah, there wasn't you got the two big news pieces. We've got more Halo games in the works, rebranding to Halo Studios. We're in Unreal Engine 5. But other than that, it's a lot of speculation. I thought speculation would be fun. What do we think? About new Halo games, about any of this? Because I've got thoughts, but
like with every time we talk about a franchise, whether it be Gears, Star Wars, etc., we always talk about how like ripe the series is for different takes on a lot of things, and probably the two best things that I think that I would like for them to like kind of work towards would be it would really be cool to have. Although I don't know how they would do it. It would be really cool to have like a pseudo like horror game based around the Flood.
Oh, I think it could work.
I think it could work, but knowing it depends on who you would be. I mean, if you were another Spartan, that'd be
Marine.
Be great. Yeah. But if you're a Marine, that's a little difficult because once a Flood touches you, like, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You're a Marine and you find an overshield.
Yeah. Let him jack a armor. or something.
Or like an ODST trooper.
Yeah.
Like a horror. That's a cool idea. Like a horror. Like take ODST and
I think you mean
instead
Odst.
take an odds trooper.
Yeah.
And instead
That's
of
redundant.
instead of
An orbital odds trooper.
or an orbital drop shock odds trooper.
Yes.
And
That's the one.
instead of dropping them in a city, drop them into like a big war zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of going around and running into Covenant, it's like you run into horrifying flood monsters and you kind of have to survive. That's a really good idea, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good goddamn idea.
Yeah.
And ODST troops kind of have that semi-shield thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how it worked in the game, but they had like a mechanic that was essentially a shield.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But the other one is something they've already kind of like dabbled in, but not necessarily an RTS, but tactical, like XCOM style, or maybe Fire Emblem style, or Advance Wars style. So one of those, like each unit does specific things that can, anyways, so I mean, I think I would like to see those, but I hate when we get stories like this because initially it seems very exciting.
Yeah.
Just no information. So you
no
can't
idea.
work it.
Yep.
I did see the GIF of Chief and I did see the image of Chief. Everybody was kind of complaining about how weird he looked, but I thought he looked like Halo 1 Chief.
Yeah, me too. He did.
Exactly.
I
Like just what he looked like on the box, just a little more rounded off.
Yeah. I don't know. At this point, I'm just like, unless you're going through me, your opinions don't matter. So there, I'm just gonna put it. I don't care. Huh?
I'm still waiting for the Halo RPG. That
would actually be kind of funny. It's like your party consists, and you can romance all of them. So you've got like a flood, the spore flood.
Yeah, right.
He's got a class. You've got a grunt. He's got a class. I'm not sure what all the classes would be. A jackal. Jackal doesn't talk, just screams. But you can still romance the jackal. It's like when you talk with the jackal, you could say like, "How you doing?" and then the jackal screams back. But at the end of it, in parentheses, it's just a heart. So you're like, "Okay, jackal's flirting with you."
Jackal always screams and always pulls out 360 no scopes.
Yeah, exactly. The jackal's special ability in turn-based combat is it jumps off the screen, and then one of your enemies like looks way in the distance, and you just see a purple stream, and then then freaking what's the guy from Saving Private Ryan? Just he was down before we heard the shot. Anyway, no. So I think one of the reasons that Halo I think worked so well in an RTS with Halo Wars is that it's already asymmetrical, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about basically everything, not just the enemy types, because you have Marines and then you have the aliens, and the aliens are, you've got one strong guy, the elite, who is way stronger than the Marines, but his squad is way weaker, and the grunts, right? And then the vehicles. The Scorpion tank fires a straight round that's really fast, but it doesn't really arc at all. The Phantom, or not the Phantom, the...
I can't remember it. I was trying to remember it. I couldn't.
Scarab? Yeah, I think it's Scarab.
No,
the Scarab's the big walking.
Scarab's the walking tank.
Yeah.
It's Wraith, isn't it?
Wraith, yes.
Wraith.
The Wraith fires the big lobbing round, right? So it's asymmetrical. It works different. And what that lends itself to is a bunch of different play styles now. So you can sort of lead into that from a game mechanic perspective.
Or just spam Warthogs.
And then on top of that, there's 3 classes. Like, I mean, there's like humans, brutes, and...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the different aliens. Then you've got Spartans and orbital shock ODST troopers.
Odds
troopers. No, but the move to Unreal 5, I think it's like cool. I hope that makes the work more streamlined.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read a story where a game developer was like, we were building our own engine and our own game, and it worked out great. Like, it's always like that is never a good thing, it seems like, when we read about game development. Mm-hmm. So, and also switching to Unreal 5, I think one thing to remember is it's not just that it's like a bigger engine, but there's a support structure there because it's a third-party company in Epic, right? Mm-hmm. And so whenever you do something or whenever you need help, I'm going to assume Epic has those services where it's like, hey, we need an Epic engineer to get in here to help out with Unreal, and those people are available. I don't know if you remember the stories about Frostbite, but it was just like... Frostbite, because it was in-house at EA, it's like they didn't have the resources to manage Frostbite as an engine and sort of make games on it, and that's what made like Anthem such a struggle. So it's like if because all Epic does is Fortnite and the Unreal Engine, basically, right? So it's just like they're in a better position where they can sort of like almost like a legal team on retainer. They can sort of manage your engine or whatever, and if you need support or help or whatever, your studio doesn't have to bear the brunt of that load, or your company doesn't have to. I'm not sure how much that's going to cost Microsoft, but you know, if I'm Epic, you're riding high right now because there was a couple other games that switched to Unreal 5. Halo did. There's a couple other big franchises that switched to Unreal 5.
I think Sega is using Unreal 5 now.
Really?
Too. I think
okay.
So.
Obviously, like Senua's Sacrifice was on Unreal 5. Space Marine 2, I think, is Unreal 5. So you've got a bunch of successful big games. Black Myth was on Unreal 5, but I can't remember. Oh, The Witcher. CD Projekt Red switched to Unreal 5. And as far as I know, the next Witcher games and the next Cyberpunk are going to be on it. So it's like, what does that mean from a technical standpoint? I don't know because I'm not a game developer. But from Epic standpoint, that's big for them because all of a sudden they've got a ton of clients, and these clients are making big deal games on their engine, right? So they're going to be making tons of money. If that helps Halo Studios get Halos going, that's fine. I would hope that it does. My big thing with Halo is I think the series just needs a reboot. Start it over. Because Halo Infinite was bad and confusing, and Cortana was a villain, and it was very stupid. So it's just like, what we need to do is take the structure from Halo Infinite, where you had this like open world, mercenaries type action game on an open map, and then you would be funneled into linear missions every now and then for the single player. Take that and redo just the first Halo. Easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm playing couch quarterback here, but I think that's if they put me in the decision chair, that's what I'm saying, because I don't know where you take Halo from Halo Infinite. It's so ridiculously confusing and messed up that it's like, what are you even gonna do?
Yeah, if they hadn't had so many missteps, there's probably room to save it. But the landscape has changed since the first game, the first trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as first-person shooters go, so you have to kind of make. Doom 2016 was awesome because it kind of took the ridiculousness of Doom and the power fantasy and like
turned it up
some more. Yep, turned it up some more. Absolutely. I wasn't gonna, but thank you. I was trying to refrain from using that reference.
Every chance I get for a Spinal Tap reference.
I should have just went with it. But anyways, but now Halo has to like figure out what it needs to do, and this is kind of like a problem that I'm gonna shoot off into a different genre here. But that's kind of the problem of this fighting game called Virtual Fighter. That's its problem. People are asking for a new Virtual Fighter game. They have been for years, and Virtual Fighter was one of the original 3D fighting games that kind of revolutionized everything. Mm-hmm. But one of the people behind Virtual Fighter, one of the higher ups, basically came out recently and was just like, we could make another one, but we just don't know what we could do
beyond
to get people to like come play us compared to like Tekken or Street Fighter or whatnot. So yes,
include the U.S. presidents.
Rad. It would be rad. Metal Gear did it. Metal Gear always does it.
Mr. President.
Metal Wolf Chaos did it too, so that's good. But yeah, Halo has to figure out what it wants to do, and I feel like we don't have enough. This is my personal opinion. We don't have enough basic first-person shooters. Does that make sense?
No, you're correct.
Like Halo 2, I think about my Halo 2 days, and I love Halo 2, and everybody loves Halo 3 as well. But like, yeah, with 4 was the very obvious, oh, this is Call of Duty now.
Yes.
Like this is very Call of Duty now. And so I want that. I would like to feel that bulkiness again. I would like to feel that like kind of Halo kind of like you would slow turn. Like I guess I would call it a slow turn, but I always remember like able to turn both fast and slow. But you know, your BR does this, your assault rifle does this, your pistol does this. Mm-hmm. No like slide jumping, no. crazy tricks, no nothing, just
because Halo was very
basics.
heavy.
Yeah.
And everybody because of overshields, firefights could take a while.
Yeah.
Because you would, if you were playing multiplayer, you'd take a guy's overshields down, he'd slip into cover, his overshields would charge, and it's like, okay, you did nothing.
But that fight would give enough time for somebody else to happen to turn the corner.
So everything was heavy and sort of patient. There was a patience, there was a heaviness to the multiplayer that I don't think is anywhere else in games right now. Especially not like Call of Duty or Battlefield.
Yeah, it's all Twitch shooting.
It's very fast paced and running everywhere. Halo required a certain like patience and like allowing enemies to come to you, precision with grenades. Because if you got shot first, but you landed a perfect grenade, you could flip that firefight instantly. So that was one of my favorite things in Halo ever, was like those perfectly placed grenades that would flip a firefight really quickly.
Yeah, but in that instance, I think they would have to force themselves to create a story.
Yeah,
before Halo 4, so you only had certain abilities.
Yeah, and the thing about the Halo franchise is that it's been like I put in my notes here, it's like a sleeping giant. Because it's this huge franchise that failed with the TV show. Its last few games were not. I don't know if they sold well. Halo Infinite, when it went free to play, the multiplayer was successful for a while. No idea where it's at now. But from a critical standpoint, the single players both are widely regarded as very bad. So it's like you have this franchise that is ripe for a revitalization. So that's what I think that's where a lot of the positivity is from. And yeah, for me, I think you just you cut your losses and you just go back and you redo the first Halo or something like that and do a soft reboot. You already kind of did that with Infinite, but the story was so bad that the soft reboot almost doesn't matter. And the game wasn't beefy enough. It wasn't complex enough. There wasn't enough density there, I think. It had more ideas than it had substance, like the gameplay. And I joke that Bob Seger woke up in the middle of a night from a thunderstrike or whatever and started thinking about the summer in 1962 or whatever. I wake up in the middle of the night from thunder and I think about how close Halo Infinite was to being like one of the greatest shooters of all time. So I think that's like where they need to take it. And I hope, I don't know, Microsoft realizes that. I would love for them to go away from microtransactions and free to play, because it just sucks. And, customization was always such a huge part of multiplayer in Halo. And I think Infinite made it so stupid. I am still not over how dumb the outline is. I don't know if you guys have played Halo Infinite in a while, but when you customize your Spartan, you can customize colors, orange, pink, whatever, right? But when you play multiplayer games, it's like you're on blue team or red team.
Yes.
Okay, so in 2008, you just put up with it and you had red and blue armor and it was fine. This is my old man yells at cloud thing. You still had your customized armor, but you were given the color of your team. With Halo Infinite, because they have to retain the cosmetics that you have, because some people are purchasing cosmetics and whatnot, and they don't, purchasing cosmetics, so you get an outline around your character. So when you're far away, they just look like a blue character, like a light. And as you run up to them, that becomes an outline. And let's say I have pink armor, but I'm on blue team. So you see pink armor, but I have a blue. It's very ugly and very stupid, but I've got a blue outline around me. And I always hated that, because it's just you really can't just have your armor turned blue if you're playing multiplayer matches. Is that really such an affront? I don't know. I hated that so much. I know why they do it. I don't give a shit. It's dumb why they did it. But that's just, to me, that's just one of the worst things that has been ever done in a video game. Like, oh my God. But anyway, steer away from that bullshit. And I think you have a lot of like positive, good directions you could take the series in. And yeah, try another TV show where it's people that have seen the show before, played the game before, maybe do that. I only saw the first two or three episodes of the Halo show. So maybe I'm being unfair, but that show was about the worst first impression that really any TV show has ever done. So yeah, is there anything else we would like to say about Connor? Are there any Halo games you would like to see? Yeah, you didn't chime in.
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's like
moving on.
Well, no, it's like I don't know. I've gotten to this point with some of the other like franchises and IPs that I was really enthralled with as a kid, to where it's moved away so much from where it was, to where I just have kind of lost interest.
Okay.
This has happened with Halo, happened with Star Wars. It's just they keep going back to the same stuff, or they keep making wild decisions that don't make sense with the previous installments, that I'm just like, all right, it's no longer being made for people like me. So
it's so dumb that it.
So I'll just go to the thing that's dumb but takes itself serious in its dumbness, and I'll just have fun with my orcs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, here's to Halo Studios, owned by Xbox. Thank you.
Oh, real quick.
Yes.
Another wacky idea: a Halo kart racer.
You know what? If
with the same physics as Warthog, so everybody's just kind of like.
Well, the thing is,
one of the power ups is just throwing a flood spawn.
with Forge,
toxic gas.
Yeah, with Forge, a lot of those things could probably be done, but like ground up game, I would be fine with that as long as that's not the only game they released. I would be upset if the next big Halo game was a kart racer. I'll be honest.
Everybody would buy it for the memes.
and I would
Chief Team Racing.
Cry myself to sleep. Okay. Subscription services are not driving changes to game design. A little bit of a context here. So this story was published by game developer on September 25th by George Zhizashvili. Zhizashvili, I believe is how you pronounce it, who is a principal analyst at Omdia, which is a market research company. In July, Omdia released a game developer survey on trends in design, accessibility, and inclusion. According to Zhizashvili, the survey shows that while developers are enthusiastic about putting their game on a streaming service, few are developing games specifically for the platform. This is in contrast to other services like music streaming, where artists have sort of changed their content to fit the medium or to fit algorithms and stuff like that. I thought it made sense when I read it. Connor, you're making a face, so I don't know if maybe it's like length, right? If you think about it in that way. Does it make sense? Okay.
I'll comment on that once we're done.
Okay. As to why, I'm going to read a little bit what he says from the story. Quote, uncertainty about how subscription services will impact developers' revenue models long-term is likely at the core of this cautiousness. The most successful subscription platforms like Xbox Game Pass often provide developers with lucrative upfront payments in exchange for including their games in the service. But for smaller titles or those without obvious blockbuster potential, the ambiguity around whether their games will be selected for a subscription service makes it hard to rely on subscription as a revenue stream. He ends the piece by saying that part of the allure to streaming services is discoverability, which I think makes sense. It's a storefront, you've got fewer games on there. Mm-hmm. It's not like Steam where things are being uploaded all the time, and you get press about it, right? You see Eurogamer, Kotaku, whatever. Here's the games coming to Game Pass, in this month. So you get press just because subscribers want to know what games are joining. I also thought that this was something that I thought with game subscription services, people are more likely to flip through the catalog because you have access to all of those. Then people on like Steam will sit there and flip through the latest releases because that stuff you have to buy. I mean, I do it too, but I assume with like subscription services, that's something that people are going to be doing more often because it's like, what else is here? And you do it with movie and TV show streaming too. Of course, one worry is that streaming services haven't had a massive uptick in users, especially since the pandemic bubble burst. So I thought there was a lot of interesting information here. I don't know. would we want developers to change, sort of alter their games to fit a streaming service somehow? Connor, we'll go with the face you were making of great consternation about the music streaming. We'll do that first.
Well, first off, completely different mediums. You can't compare the two.
Sure.
Music streaming and video game streaming are as different as they come. Mm-hmm. And music hasn't changed for streaming. If you look back, yes, they're like you go back to like 60s, 70s, there were bands releasing really big songs that were like long, and now the standard is like 2.5, 3 minutes. But that's been like that since back in the 60s as well, back into the 20s. Like it's not something that's changed. It's that how we've perceived it has changed, because now we're streaming it. So now we notice that we have a physical thing showing us, length. So we just see this as possibly a side effect of streaming, where it's not the case. The only change that I'll say that has happened within the past, decade with music is artists releasing music specifically for short form media, but that's not the music that's then being released like by major artists that are producing music to be consumed as music rather than filler for short form media.
Yeah, it seems to me, I don't know the streaming or music industry as well, but it seems to me that probably the bigger influence on the structure of music was radio, right?
Yeah.
Because if you wanted your song on the radio, you had to fit it to a certain format or whatever. You couldn't have an 11-minute guitar solo somewhere in there. So to me, it seems like that would be the bigger change in forcing artists to sort of fit their music to a specific format, where streaming, I feel like it has certain dynamics to it that radio doesn't have, obviously. But when it comes to like the form of content, I don't know. That's an interesting
the
question.
content hasn't changed. It's just how we get it has changed.
Yeah. Okay, but back to the thank you for the insights. Back to the question at hand then. Is that something we would want? Because to me, I'm sort of disinterested. I wouldn't want developers to have to figure out how to change their game to fit a game service. Not, I keep saying streaming service, just a game subscription service. Because it's like, hey, just make a good game and hopefully the users will come. But what do you guys think? Are you on the same wavelength I am?
Yeah, I wouldn't say developers should be going out of their way to change to fit a subscription model. If that's their intent from the start, then the information out there about how different subscription models are working, which subscription services are best, then change those aspects. But if you're making a game and then after the fact want to go to a subscription model or a subscription service, I don't think developers should be going out of their way to try that.
Yeah. The in the story he mentioned that I guess data shows that a lot of people will play a game on a subscription service for 30 minutes and then they'll switch to something else. Mm-hmm. So in his mind, it's like, how do you take advantage of that 30 minutes to get the user to stay with your game? But the thing is, I don't know, if is Xbox Game Pass more likely to give a deal to a developer who is building a game for Game Pass, or are they just handing out deals to games that people are interested in playing? And so if you get your game on Game Pass, then you've been paid. So why change it to fit? Because it's like, yeah, you want people to play your game on Game Pass, but you've already made your money. Does that make sense? You don't need to sell it on Game Pass. So why create it to be played on Game Pass when you've been paid? And then obviously you also want it to sell on other storefronts. And those storefronts work differently from Game Pass. And that's where you're going to need it to sell. So it just feels like that would be a backwards way to solve things. You make a game in the way that you normally make it for the market, and then hopefully once you get the deal to have it put on Xbox Game Pass, if people aren't playing it, then people aren't playing it. But it's like, I don't know, you've made your money from that deal. That logic seems to make sense to me. So it's like, I don't know. It would suck if developers suddenly had to figure out how to create some kind of formula where it's like games on Xbox, their game on Xbox Game Pass, I don't know, hooked users in the first 30 minutes to stop them from browsing. I that's not something that I would want developers to have to do. If anything, it seems like Xbox Game Pass has allowed developers to maybe be more creative or take risks or something because they have this other thing. And we also know that that Xbox Game Pass deals have sort of been drying up. They're not sort of the gold mine that they were 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, Richard, did you have?
Yeah, I have. My mind is going crazy because there's a lot of points that my ADHD is going to some. There's a lot of points I want to talk about, but I'm trying to grab one or the other. But I think Game Pass has initially done very well for the gaming industry, but now we're at a position to where it's already affected users in the sense that I mentioned indecisiveness or ADHD is now off. So if you give somebody like 100 plates of food, it's like, oh, I'm gonna try that one. Let me try that one. And so that's the reason, probably one of the major reasons why we don't see people hanging on to something for 30 minutes or more, at least according to the market data. But developers haven't changed their model for subscription services, most likely because, and this is something we've already touched on, they're not making the money from it. They may have an initial offer from Microsoft to buy like that game or whatnot, but what money is coming in after that?
Yeah.
Game Pass was not made. Game Pass was made to gain residual retention of money, not create money. And so this kind of we talked about changes, and I'm already going off. My points are going crazy, but we talked about how the music industry hasn't changed. Technically, the video games industry has changed once already, and that was in the early to mid 90s. I guess the biggest example I'll pull out is Vic Ireland, who was the head of a company called Working Designs. They got a bunch of Japanese games, JRPGs, translated them, brought it over to America. They were known for artificially increasing difficulty or making things harder because in the mid 90s or early 90s, all the retailers had 7 days, bring it back, full refund. And then, but they would get hit. The developers would get hit for that money. Yeah. So they had to change and do those things. And that's also renting was a big reason for that as well. But that was to keep that money. So I have a hard time believing that any developer out there would want to change the way that they develop a game. If they wanted to make a quick buck, maybe, but where's the sustainability in that?
Yeah.
There was a girl who went slightly viral on TikTok because she worked on her own for a game that she made for like 5 years, and she released it. And the day she released it, EA decided to release all of their old catalog, and it knocked her off the front page, like of new releases, because all EA stuff was there, and she was heartbroken and whatnot. But developers don't go out and make a game to make money. They go out because they like the art, you know. The money is a necessity to keep that art going. And it's not in streaming. It's not in subscription services like Game Pass and whatnot. And unless you're Microsoft, you can't keep it going because we're looking at Ubisoft Plus, EA, within a couple years, they're like, oh, we'll release it on Steam, like re-release it on Steam, or like they should have done in the first place. But Microsoft has that residual income, baby, from a lot of other means. So
all those servers.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how. Obviously, it's already gotten more expensive, but I don't know how else Game Pass is going to change. We know Call of Duty is going to be on it, correct?
Yep. Call of Duty is going to be on it.
So how is that going to impact how Game Pass works? Will people pay a subscription to play Call of Duty? Are people, when the new Call of Duty comes out, are they going to buy a month and play it for a month? Or are they going to keep it year round because they're like, hey, it's cheaper to just have a subscription indefinitely than to drop $70 on the new Call of Duty every year or whatever. So it's like, how will that dynamic play out? When does Black Ops 6 releases?
November?
In November, right?
Oh, it's always November if I'm not mistaken.
So I'm assuming if it's a big success on Game Pass, Xbox is going to tout that, right? Because that's the whole one of the big things about the acquisition was, we're going to have this Game Pass deal, and that's how we're going to get, and that's going to inject Game Pass with a lot of sustainability. But like, yes, we don't know how that's going to shake out, but we also know that Game Pass seem to have been hemorrhaging money for a long time because you're giving out deals and you're not getting a whole lot more back. So maybe it makes more sense to sort of give out deals to smaller developers that aren't asking for tons of money like bigger publishers might. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Game Pass, I feel like, hasn't found. It's been an uneasy footing. It was really successful at the beginning. They were throwing a ton of money at it. But now with the way that the market is, it's sort of, it's kind of wobbly. Not necessarily not successful, but at the same time, it's uncertain. We're not sure how it's going to go. So yeah, if I were a developer, I definitely wouldn't want to put all my eggs in figuring out how to optimize its usage on Game Pass because. Why? There's more lucrative. It would be more lucrative for it to be successful on Steam than on Game Pass, right? So yeah. I think I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I don't think there's anything else I want to say about that. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to? Oh, I had a question, Richard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you go through the file cabinets of your game's history brain.
I'll do my
but
best.
I would imagine that another big paradigm shift was when.
I think there was another one, and I'm free. I lost it.
Was the transition from like arcades to home consoles, right? Because arcades are a different context where you're playing in person, you pay a quarter, whatever, and then as that transition to home consoles, all of a sudden you have something that is always available. You're not putting a quarter into a home console as much as EA would want you to. So it's like that transition. Changed how games were made, right? Somehow, because you're no longer making it to be something that people have to consistently pay for to play or whatever. I don't know if you have
the first from microtransactions.
Got them. I don't know if you had any anecdotes about that or anything like that.
That happened around the same time. Okay, like the early 90s to 2000s, because the Neo Geo came out in like 93, 94, and that was actual like arcade cartridges you would take home and then onto the
cool. Right.
Yeah, but it was very expensive as a boutique console. But get me on this. Well, not get me on, but I'll just try. But that was like the reason why Sega Saturn was so puzzling, because they like were originally making like the ultimate 2D machine, but they were driving 3D in arcades. So when they released the Saturn, it was kind of like, what is this? You guys were doing 3D like so well, but then Sony came out and was like, cool, look at this 3D stuff. No need, and all your arcade favorites, PlayStation, you know. And so that like a mid 90s and then late 2000s thing, and then you slowly will get out of that. You do have like games trying to emulate those, like nowadays a lot of times. Battle Axe is a good one that for some reason is popping into my head.
There's House of the Dead console ports, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Are they on PC?
No. Well, Typing of the Dead is.
Really?
Yeah, I love Typing of the Dead.
I have not heard of that.
Typing of the Dead overkill. So it's the same thing, but you have to type words and letters like to shoot them.
That's awesome. I want a House of the Dead VR.
There's
game.
actually
that would be cool.
Well, I mean, House of the Dead specifically, yes, but those games are all over the place on VR.
Yeah, similar ones, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of really good ones though as well. But I'm a big fan of Typing of the Dead. But there is a multiplayer Typing of the Dead game coming out on Steam. I'll find it later. But yeah, anyways. I'm
excited.
What were we talking about?
I just imagine a zombie walking up to you, and instead of the shoot him in the head, it's like, hurry, a quick brown frog, throw him over the lazy dog.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. They do have that. Yeah, when House of the Dead 2 came out on Dreamcast, and then they released the keyboard and the mouse like peripherals because the Dreamcast could go online and stuff, and then they remade House of the Dead 2 into Typing of the Dead, and so instead of like characters having guns and stuff, when they would show the characters, like when they would drive up and like get out of their cars, they would have like a Dreamcast backpack and like arms that came out and had a keyboard like right here. And so they, like,
no ideas about this.
They really changed it so that it looked stupid. It was really awesome.
All right, that's the remake I want right there.
Yeah.
I'm not getting Silent Hill 2 tomorrow. I want Typing of the Dead remake. That's what I want. I want Unreal Engine 5 and a $300 million budget.
And directed by Uwe Boll.
There you go.
Sure. How does... Never mind. I'm not even going to ask that question. It's one of those things where it's like, how do you keep getting money to do things? But it's like,
well, he had the last laugh when Borderlands came out, so.
Do you think I've never seen any of his movies because I don't hate myself enough, but I've seen enough of them. I don't know but I also haven't seen Borderlands, but I've also seen enough of it. I do wonder if it is worse than Uwe Boll. I don't know.
I don't know either. Like all of the movies that Uwe Boll has made, I wasn't interested in those games becoming movies.
Yeah, like Postal and whatnot.
Yeah, Blood Rain maybe, but even then we have Underworld, so why watch Blood Rain?
Okay, are we ready for tidbits?
Yes.
Let's do it. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits, and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits. Little tidbits.
There it is, folks.
Plaque you guys can put together.
I'm busy looking for that game and then juggling tidbits. I always love when this happens. Hidden credits were found on Zelda Majora's Mask for the GameCube. So when you're at the main menu of the GameCube version of the game, you can hit a certain button combination and just a plain credits page pops up featuring the names of the engineers for that version of the game.
And this was never ever discovered till now?
No, it was discovered yesterday or earlier today. Can't remember.
Awesome.
But I'm going to just name off their names because there's only like 7 of them. But Robert Champagne, David Devati, Rory Johnson, Stephen Lee, Yoon Jun Lee, and Max Zalagor. So those names were responsible for the engineering of.
Do we know how they guessed the button combo?
I don't know. Well, I don't know because there wasn't more information than that. But I would assume usually a lot of codes that are coming out now is because people are either like they got programs like sifting
data
through
mining
stuff,
or brute force. Isn't that similar with like hacking passwords or whatever?
Something similar to that. Yeah.
Okay. Or is there a guy on top of a mountain somewhere in a temple who just is going through every combination of control?
It's Uwe Boll.
He's just on like, all right, here's this is combo number 1,007,721, and I got something. And like rings a bell. Yeah, he has to light the fires like Lord of the Rings, and the fires go, whatever. Nintendo sues and puts out one of the fires, and we never know about it. All right, what's next?
Sorry, real quick. Bleem is back. I love Bleem, and I will try to go into a little bit of detail here what Bleem is. Bleem is the original emulator company that created a way to play PlayStation games on your Dreamcast and PC at higher resolutions along with other features. Of course, they sold it as an actual product in stores. Like you could go get it in stores. And they were supposed to release like several packs of them that would do like a category of like 100 different games and then like category of 100 different games, blah, blah, blah. But they were only able to release, I think, 4 officially. 1 for Gran Turismo, 1 for Metal Gear Solid, 1 for Tekken. And there was a 4th one I can't remember. But anyways, they went into lawsuits with Sony several times. And in 2001, they closed down due to, of course, not having money. But the name has been purchased and they are now back in the publishing business. Pico Interactive has acquired the name for Bleem and is using them to market some upcoming releases like Rage of the Dragon from SNK Playmore.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That was very neat. And I've been talking a lot about Sega today, so this will be twofold. Make another Sega Saturn reference. Alien Isolation sequel. That's it.
It's in the works. That's all we know.
That's it.
I told you my.
No, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you first. For context, the way I said that was very similar to the way Ray Chase announced the PlayStation price against the Sega Saturn, where he just walked up to a podium and went $199 and then walked off. Yeah. Or was it $299? I think it was $299.
I'm really excited for that.
I'm not done yet. No.
Okay. I'm sorry. I deserve it. I deserve it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. No, I deserve it. I totally deserve it. Connor, if you want to interrupt me real quick, just talk about, your Salas or something. Anyway. No, I already pitched you my idea for an Alien Isolation sequel, where it's like you can kill the aliens, but you don't have enough ammo to kill all of them, so you gotta have to pick and choose which ones you kill.
That would be rad.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome if you played it as if there were sections where you played as like a Space Marine squad, and if you died, that story just ended. That Space Marine was just dead in your game.
Kind of like
swapped characters.
Kind of like Zombie U or Void Bastards.
Yeah. What was the Zombie U? Was that the Wii one?
That was the Wii U one.
Yeah, where you just sort of lose forever or whatever. I think there's so many ideas they could do with that. An encounter with an alien queen would be interesting. How would you pull that off? There's so much stuff that they could do with an Alien Isolation sequel. I'm so excited.
It absolutely needs to be have a VR mode as well.
Yes, that would be if there were official one where it had like full motion tracking and whatnot. That would be amazing.
Full haptic suit.
Yeah.
But with like tiny pins in it.
Yeah, so. Exactly.
Yeah. And just
acid
like
vial.
And just like a bayonet right at your forehead. And if you die,
it would be Tiger Bomb or Bengay to like simulate acid or something.
No, I want real acid. I want battery acid dipping into my chest. Yeah, that's a 4A game. This is Yves Jamon's vision. 4D. This is Yves Jamon's vision. He's like, when you die in Alien Isolation 2, you actually get stabs in the face. We are down to 30 employees because they all died testing it. I don't know. He's German now, apparently. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm really excited for Alien Isolation 2 because
I love when Tyler does accents because they start somewhere on Earth and then somewhere else.
Computer, can you start the 43D3?
Tane, show me Tane.
New Tane.
Oh, I'm okay. What's next, Richard?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. YouTube.com/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. Go check out my review of Play Nice. Buy Play Nice. Read it, whatever. Huh?
So give us a hat wobble.
Give me a hat and a Flargen Snarp or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.